If you've ever watched one of the top US crime shows on television, then you've most likely heard of facial recognition technology and may have even seen it put to groundbreaking fictional use. While most of these primetime hits end with the bad guys getting caught, in reality, the technology is much less effective. What it is good for, however, is helping us to determine and document the evolution of the human face. With globalisation and multicultural societies, it's no wonder traditional features are starting to change somewhat. OPSM recently did some research to help determine how Australia as a society now looks. The research was conducted by leading facial recognition scientist Dr Kendra Schmid, who joins me now in the studio. Dr Schmid, thanks for your time today. Can you just start by explaining briefly how the technology of the science actually works, how it's applied to determine the shape of someone's face?
Sure. So first, I partnered with OPSM. I was really excited to work with them on this project. What they did is they had the face hunter go around Australia and take images of over 1,000 Australian people. Then they sent those images to me, and I used them to determine the face shapes of modern Australia. So the first thing that I did is I used some point detection software, and that software goes and it takes all the individual images and locates points all around the face and on the features of the face.
So it sort of measures, I suppose, distance between cheekbones, your nose and your forehead and that sort of stuff?
Exactly. So first we find all of the points and then use all of those points to create the measurements. So we looked at things such as your overall face length, the width at your cheekbones, width of your forehead, jaw, chin, and then lengths of forehead, nose, and chin.
And it's obviously quite a precise science in terms of the measurements, the algorithms used to determine the different shapes. Traditionally, Australians had 4 face shapes. What were they?
So the commonly used face shapes are the round, the heart, the oval, and the square. So before this research, most people thought they were ovals. In fact, we found that only about 14% of Australians really are ovals.
So reveal to us how we have, as Australians, changed in terms of the shape of our face. What has the research found? What do we look like now? What shapes are we comprising?
So we've actually uncovered a total of 9 face shapes in modern Australia. So in addition to the 4 existing shapes, we have 5 new shapes. The kite, the heptagon, and then instead of just the square, those people with the more angular features could be also either rectangle or oblong. And then there's also another one called the teardrop, in which the forehead length is shorter than the chin length, and that one is quite uncommon.
Has any other research like this been done in terms of the Western multicultural nations? Is this a trend that we're seeing globally because of globalisation?
So the different face shapes definitely could be a trend because of multicultural societies. However, this really is the first research of its kind, and research that refers to face shapes in this context is really lacking in the scientific literature. So this that was conducted by OPSM really is a first of its kind.
Humans have always had an innate ability to actually recognise and distinguish between different faces. Which shapes do we find most pleasing or most distressful?
That's a great question. And the truth is that it's more about the features than it is about the shape. So the measurements that I used for the face shapes are a part of what would go into what we would find pleasing or attractive or beautiful. And actually, any face shape could be just as beautiful as any other.
Well, that's probably good to know. People are obsessed with their looks. We know it. Worldwide magazine covers. So many people altering actually their features and the shapes of their face due to, I guess, voluntary procedures and whatnot. It's quite often the reason also why people are so successful, especially when it comes to fame. What are some of the celebrities in terms of their face shapes? Can we run through some of them?
One of the most important findings that came out of this research is that oval is not the most common face shape in Australia. It's actually what we're calling the kite shape. And this, a perfect example of the kite shape is Cate Blanchett. And she has high, prominent cheekbones and then a longer, narrower jawline, and a shorter, narrower forehead.
I mean, she's just gorgeous. She's got that real pixie look. So, I mean, that's obviously very appealing to others. Say, for example, the rectangle face.
So the rectangle face, a good example of this one is Allison Williams. And in the rectangle face, you have your forehead, your cheekbones, and your jaw. They're almost all equal width all the way down. And then you have an average face length. And so just nice angular features.
Oval?
An oval, a perfect example of an oval is Rose Byrne. And the oval, again, you have the prominent cheekbones, and then your face just angles about the same in length and angle in both directions.
So all in all, though, regardless of the shape of your face, it really does come down to personality, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks so much, Dr. Kendra Schmid, for your time today.
Thank you. It's been wonderful.